Hi guys, Barry Wheeler here again, and coming to you with the first edition of the street by street view of South Hobart. Now, South Hobart is one of the older towns in and around Hobart City. From cottages down along the rivulets through to near mansions at the top end of Davey Street. Various industries, breweries, pubs and the like have frequented this area over the course of many years. A further history behind that is agriculture, farming, dairy, so on and so forth. Now, as we go through this street by street view, I'll be bringing to light some of this history and some interesting facts and tidbits around the area. So today we start with Adelaide Street. Now, Adelaide Street here in South Hobart runs between Cascade Road and Davey Street, parallel. And before I get much further, I must put a special mention to Donald Howitson, who did much of this research, so I didn't have to, and has actually published it in a book in 2012, which is available in several areas of Hobart. But Adelaide Street was one of the streets created when a guy called Thomas Birch had a 100-acre estate in South Hobart, and that was subdivided in the late 1830s to create several areas and residential areas here in South Hobart. Adelaide Street, surprisingly so, or maybe not, was actually named after Queen Adelaide, who was the wife of King William IV. Now, an interesting fact around that one is Queen Adelaide wasn't William's first choice. In fact, there were several agreements put together with several different princesses over time that fell through for one reason or another, and eventually, who was then Princess Adelaide, of a fairly unimportant German state, was chosen. The deal was brokered, and they met only about a week or so before their marriage, which was in 1818. Now, although it started in fairly unromantic times, they did stay true and faithful throughout their entire marriage. Now, an interesting fact around Adelaide Street is the property in the picture now, which we're approaching, which is 29 to 31 Adelaide Street, actually used to be a pub called the Queen Adelaide Inn. Now, it was purchased by a gentleman named James Sly. He was a bootmaker back in the 1840s. There it is. And he sold it to a guy called George Pollock for £500 going back in 1853. Now, Pollock was the industrious businessman that then applied for it to be made a pub. Now, there wasn't a whole lot of support for it back in the 1850s. It went to a vote and very narrowly got approved. The council records show that the licensing approved it with votes 10 in favour and 8 against. Adelaide Street was never a main thoroughfare, and so it was a bit of a weird choice from the start, but it did flourish for a point in time and operated all the way through to the mid-1860s. It wasn't without significant events, though. So on July 29 in 1958, in fact, the then owner and publican Mary Beck, who was a widow, and there weren't a whole lot of jobs available to women back in those days, but publican was one of them. And a couple of men came in there about 9 o'clock at night and asked for a drink. When she went to grab it, one of them came behind the counter and produced a gun. Now, Mary Beck ran out into the street screaming and came back, and they were gone. But within a month, the The perpetrators had been caught up with and were both convicted and sentenced to 12 months imprisonment. So, guys, that's it, the history of Adelaide Street, and we'll be back again in a couple of days with the history of Anglesea Street. I look forward to seeing you then. Cheers, bye for now.